School District Board of Trustees is now being called to order. It's February the 22nd. We are in Saluda High School. This meeting has been announced and appropriately advertised according to the requirements of the Freedom of Information Act, public meetings. All board members are present, a quorum is present, so the board can legally take action. Next is our invocation. Mr. Holloway, would you have our invocation, please, sir?
Good evening, everybody. First of all, I want to say this before I pray. 1965, I was in the United States Army. The Vietnam War was raging. I had orders to go to that war 3 times. I haven't gotten there yet. That's how powerful God is. I tell people that God did not save me so I could hurt you. So I live my life trying to help others. And I'm challenging you to do the same. Let's bow here in the word of prayer, because we know the one that has me that's not dead. This evening, our dear Heavenly Father, I come to you first of all to say thank you. Thank you for blessing me. Thank you for keeping me. Thank you for blessing us. Thank you for keeping us. Heavenly Father, I pray that you be in the midst of this meeting. Be with us as we make the decision for the betterment of this school district and our community. Heavenly Father, please bless us to do unto others as you have them to do with us. Heavenly Father, take care of God and keep them. Heavenly Father, if there's anything that I fail to ask you for that you know we stand in need of, dear Father, please grant those blessings to us all. And dear Father, I pray that you bless these bus drivers that are here this evening. We thank you for them. We pray that you keep them safe. We thankful that you keep them, keeping our children safe. God, we ask you to continue to bless us, continue to stand with us, continue to guide us, Heavenly Father. If there's nothing else, Heavenly Father, I pray that you will bless us continuously. Indeed, blessing and all other blessings, we pray in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen.
Thank you, Mr. Holloway. Next on the agenda is approval of the minutes from the January 25th meeting. We received a copy of the minutes in the packet. Are there any additions or deletions? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes for January 25th, 2021.
Make a motion.
Motion by Dr. Puryear, second by Mr. Jordan. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by raising your hand. Vote unanimous. Thank you. Next is the approval of the agenda. Dr. Livingston.
No change, Dr. Thomas.
A motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Holloway, second by Dr. Puryear. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by raising your hand. Vote unanimous. Thank you. Next, Dr. Livingston, is the recognition of the bus drivers, and I look forward to this time. And I don't like to talk to people behind me, but I just wanted to say how grateful I echo Mr. Holloway's comments. We're so grateful for what you do for our children and our school district, and we could not have gone through what we've gone through without you. You're just a very vital part of our school district, and what you do to take care of our children, keep them safe. We're just very grateful. So thank all of you for being here tonight.
Welcome you up now. I'm gonna stand up. Thank y'all very much. Hey, can y'all hear through my mask? Okay. Before I get started, I need to make sure that y'all, my driver will stand. When we invite groups of staff to come to board meetings, and this is nothing against any staff member. If we have 2 or 3, that's a success. Thank y'all from the bottom of my heart what you do every day. All of y'all are up 4:30, 5 o'clock in the mornings, and run late into the night. Thank you so much for what you do. Saluda County is truly blessed to have an outstanding group of individuals who are true servant leaders that go above and beyond to make sure that our kids get to school safely. we are very fortunate. Most districts in the state are struggling right now with staffing. And y'all have worked with us, worked over, worked double to try to work together, and y'all, that takes a family. And please know, I know that, our principals know that, and Mr. Chapman knows that, your school board knows that. So please know that. So anytime that you feel that maybe we don't care about you, please know we do care about you. We truly know and understand what you do every day. Myself and Coachy and some others, we're right here with you some days. But y'all are the day-to-day. Y'all are the ones who make it happen. So, from the bottom of my heart, school board's heart, school district's heart, thank y'all very, very much for what you do every day. And this thank you is very much long overdue. I hate that COVID is going to kind of change up kind of protocols, and I want to hug a lot of y'all, but we just can't hug right now. Also, too, time got away from me today, but nobody look tomorrow, Wednesday. We will come by with some gift cards to take care of either supper or lunch for you. Whatever you want to go to one of our restaurants in town, just a little small token of our appreciation. But I do want to list all bus drivers, just kind of call it by name, and also too to identify some of our drivers that have 20 plus years of service as a driver. So I want to recognize, and now world's worst name caller, so I apologize for mispronouncing the name. We have Miss Bonnie Burnett, we have Miss Janice Cannon, we have Miss Janice Campbell. We have Ms. Belinda Curington, Corinthia Davenport, Tina Etheridge, Paul Gillum, Ms. Ernestine Height, Ms. Sandra Jackson, Lana Paget, Ms. Sandra Kixley, Sean Smith, Trista Van Horn, and Valerie Wright. And the following drivers who I'm calling, they have served 20 plus years in transporting our students. Ms. Brenda Gillen, Ms. Annie Lott, Ms. Cheryl Mason, Ms. Emma Matthews, Mr. J.R. Rogers, Ms. Gloria Searles Lewis, and Ms. Norita Smith. So let's leave everybody around the applause. Y'all, once again, I cannot thank you enough for what you do every day. Thank you for taking care of our kids. Thank you for going above and beyond. And thank you for working with us. We have worked hard to improve things. We still have a ways to go. I understand that. But please continue to work with us as we continue to make things better. So, a couple of housekeeping items, and then Dr. Coleman definitely want to turn over to you. Due to COVID, certificates are on this side. Those individuals with 20 plus year service, your certificate is framed right here. We'll be dropping by, if not tomorrow, Wednesday. We're a little goodie for some lunch or supper. I know Dr. Coleman will say this as well. You are welcome to stay as long as you want, but a lot of y'all aren't possibly going off about 12 o'clock. So, Dr. Coleman?
Thank you, Dr. Livingston. And any other board members would like to make a comment, we'd be happy for you to. But again, thank you so much for what you do for our school district and our children. We just can't say thank you enough for your dedication to us and to our children.
I just think that, thank y'all, first and foremost. And that friendly face, that familiar face, first face a lot of our kids see in the morning, come to school, last face they see when they get off the bus. And a lot of times the bus drivers are who your kids will go to and who they feel comfortable with. And I'm just so proud of the group that we have. I know a bunch of you, and you've been here a long time, over 20 years says a lot. So just my hat's off, thank y'all so much. And realize it's not going unnoticed. I see a bunch of you in the road, and like I said, it doesn't matter if it's rain, shine, y'all out there doing your thing. So I just really appreciate everything y'all done. Can't say that enough. Thank y'all.
Kathy, I'd like to say something too. Again, like all the board members and our superintendent say, we really appreciate you all for what you do. Again, I have to say like this, the first face that our children see when they leave us, even when they're small, and they're getting on that bus, is the bus driver. And that means that you're very important to them because they trust you. They know that you're going to take care of them, you're taking them to the school so they can learn. But I have to give my shout out to Ms. Lott. And I know Ms. Lott have over 20 years. But Ms. Lott was my children. And I know all of you all, principals and board members, y'all heard about the Bonham Road bus, right? I heard about the Bonham Road bus. But Ms. Lott had the Bonham Road bus. And I know that wasn't easy all the time, Ms. Lott. But we appreciate everything that you did for us. Taking care of our children, disciplining our children, showing them that you love them. And we appreciate that. And I know that all of you do the same thing for the children each and every day.
Well, thank y'all again. Y'all are welcome to stay as long as you want, but we completely understand if, y'all want to give him what they have. Like I say, I have certificates and, thank y'all.
Okay.
And, other people, I apologize. Anyway. Thank y'all for coming on. Thank y'all very much, ladies.
I just want to say something. When I started driving the school bus, we had straight drive. And we had ashtrays on. Thank you.
You've done a couple generations since then.
I got the teachers.
You're not making it out real good, We got extras in the doctor's office.
That's your name, Rick?
Thank y'all.
Thank you, Debbie.
Thank y'all. Thank you, buddy.
Thank y'all.
Got my name.
Got my name.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, Dr. Richardson. Next on the agenda is the legislative update.
Yes, ma'am. Dr. Coleman, just say, and I know board members, y'all received the updates, on School Board Association, but there were just a couple bills that I just wanted to bring up, just to kind of remind everybody where they're at. Just kind of the main ones. Senate Bill 516, which deals with the vaccination of teachers and staff. Of course, that bill is in play. As you know, hang on for a second, please. And as you know, that would move teachers and support staff as mission critical workers and would make them eligible for vaccination under Phase 1A. It will also require all school districts to offer 5 days in-person, face-to-face instruction no later than the Monday following the district spring break. The House has their bill as well, House Bill 3858, very similar to the Senate bill, except the House bill excludes district office employees in Phase 1A. And the House bill states that schools will offer 5 days in-person classroom instruction no later than 28 days after the signing of the resolution. House subcommittee adjourned last week, and they'll be meeting this week with more meetings with DHEC and Superintendent Spearman. So we're still waiting on that. Another bill that, of course, we're aware of is House Bill 3908. This deals with teacher step increase. Full Senate Finance Committee is scheduled to meet tomorrow at 3 o'clock on this bill. So we look forward to hearing how that turns out. Senate Bill 147, which is the Safe Harbor Bill, or in layman's term, a bill that would protect businesses and school districts from lawsuits arising from the coronavirus. The Senate did amend it to kind of tighten up some of the language that ensure that schools and businesses are doing their due diligence and following all DEC and CDC guidelines in order to have the safe harbor protection. And of course, I know y'all have kept up as well, but Senate Bill 203, which deals with giving the governor authority to remove a school board member. The Senate adopted the committee amendments and gave the bill second reading by a vote of 41-0 last Thursday. So those are just some of the major bills that I've been tracking. And Dr. Coleman, anybody else have any other comments or any bills that you want me to do some research for you all?
Any questions or comments? All right. Thank you, Dr. Richardson. And next on the agenda is instruction. First is policy BD, organization of the board. Last month we gave this policy first reading, so we're now for second reading.
And Dr. Coleman, just a reminder to the board, the revisions to policy BD that y'all voted on last month, BD, the changes will now comply with state election law, as well as now policy BD will align with board policy BBB.
Any questions? Your motion? Motion for second reading of policy BD, organization of the board. For a second?
Second.
Second by Frank Moore. Any discussion? All those in favor, signify by raising your hand. Vote unanimous. Thank you. All right, next on the agenda is e-learning district update. Dr. Lewis?
Yes, ma'am. Dr. Coleman, the board, I am now going to ask Dr. Douglas if she would come up to get us started. And I do just want to make a little side note. During my past several weeks that I have needed to be away from the district, I have not for one moment worried about the leadership of our district or the leadership of our individual school buildings. So I want to personally thank each of you for allowing me to be where I needed to be for the past couple of weeks. Thank you very much, y'all. Dr. Douglas?
Can you all hear me all right?
No.
No?
Can't hear you.
What number do you have on that?
Is that on? I can hear it too. Thank you. The first piece of information we wanted to provide an update on was something called e-learning district status. And this is something we're really proud of. This past summer, we were part of an e-learning readiness pilot program. And what that readiness distinction showed was that we had a lot of structures in place that showed we were ready for remote learning. Well, in December, we decided we were ready to apply for the full e-learning district status. And what this would allow, and this was in the works even before COVID hit and the schools were closing, the Educational Oversight Committee and the State Department of Education were working together to give districts an option, mainly when it came to inclement weather and sudden school closures. Instead of building in those make-up weather days or tacking them on to the end of the school year, the e-learning status would allow districts to do remote learning on those days. This really helps with the disruption of learning, and it also prevents the tacking on of weather days at the end of the school year. After the summative assessments are done and the year is kind of wrapping up, and then all of a sudden we're extending the school year. So we decided that we wanted to go for this. We wanted to apply for the e-learning district status, and we were granted it back in January, actually. There were 4 focus areas that we had to show we were proficient in, and those 4 areas are listed here on the screen. The technology equipment, the learning management system, an LMS, providing virtual learning options, and then also providing ongoing professional development for all stakeholders. So as you know, we are now 1-to-1, district-wide. Our littlest learners have Chromebook tablets, and then grades 2 through 12 have Chromebook devices. And we've been able to implement or integrate learning panels in all of our classrooms. So we've been able to upgrade a lot of technology. We've had cameras installed. We've done a really thorough job making sure that we had the technology equipment in place. Our learning management system, we use Google Classroom. And the South Carolina Department of Education had 4 learning platforms that they were really advising districts use. And Google Classroom was one of those 4 platforms. We had already been using Google Classroom pretty consistently, especially with our middle school and high school learners. And so it was an easy shift to scale it down to our littlest learners. And we had a lot of experts in place, in-house, to lead some professional learning for their colleagues. You'll see on the right-hand side of the screen, this is a screenshot from Saluda Elementary's Google Classroom that they actually have for their teachers. So not only are our kids using Google Classroom, but our adult learners are as well. That third component that we had to show proficiency in was giving a virtual learning option. And as you know, because you have read over and really learned a lot about our full distance learning options, we have a lot of great opportunities for our kids. And we do still have kids that have chosen to be full distance learners, and they are able to engage in classroom learning. And these are just some great shots of our teachers teaching classes, being interactive with our high school kids on the left and our little guys over there on the right. That 4th component that we had to show proficiency in was the ongoing learning for all stakeholders. And I particularly love this picture because Ms. Herlong is one of our full distance learning teachers who has really, really embraced teaching in that full distance learning model. And she's here. She had a parent that was struggling helping her child at home. And so the parent and the child came in together, sat with the teacher, and engaged in a full distance learning lesson right there with her, with that support. And so we are providing professional learning for our teachers, but also our parents. So that's been a really powerful thing. I think the other, before we take questions, and I did ask Joseph Gardner, our Director of Technology, to be here as well. He's kind of the behind-the-scenes guy that makes a lot of this happen. So if you have any questions about some of the technology we've implemented. But one other thing I wanted to mention is that Dr. Livingston has charged us with coming up with a sustainability plan. We know the life of technology, 4 years maybe for a Chromebook. So we need a plan. These devices that we have purchased for kids to use and teachers to use aren't going to last forever. So how are we going to sustain this plan? And so that's a project that we are working on, and we'll come back and present to the board at some point, but it's really exciting work. What questions do you have?
I have a question.
Yes.
How do we monitor the content? Who monitors that? Is that just that particular teacher? Or is there any way, say, you can see what they're teaching?
Yes, we have filters, and we also have, and I'll let Joseph speak to this if he wants to come up and join me, but we've even purchased things like, Dino, what is it?
I'll just take this off for you. We do have products monitored even in the classrooms here. We have products like Dino, and what that allows them to do is, they can see what the students are doing on their Chromebooks and monitor lessons and interact.
I can't understand a word you're saying, son.
Sorry. We do have products that we're using now, tools like one product in particular called Dino. And what it allows teachers to do is monitor student Chromebooks or screens on any computer for that matter. If they're at home or in the classroom here, they can see, any websites they're visiting. They can interact with them, asking questions, just in a lot of different ways that way. So that's one way they monitor the devices and what they're doing on them.
Can I add something?
Yes, please.
I think a lot of the principals would agree because I kind of heard them whispering over there. Another way that we monitor that content, Commander Moore, is that we ask the teachers to make the principals, to make myself as special ed directors, administrators in their classroom as well. And what that allows us to do is we can walk through, do an observation in a virtual classroom, just like we would do a walkthrough in a face-to-face. So they never know when we might pop in.
That's what I was looking for.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were talking about protections for our kids not searching.
No, I was talking about how you monitor what content is being taught to our children.
Perfect. Thank you, Ms. Shumpert. Yes. Great question.
Any other questions? I have two.
Yes.
Where do we fall in the state with other districts that are doing this?
There were 13 districts that went for e-learning full status when we did. And prior to that, this was the third phase. And so I think at this point, there's about 45 districts that are working toward or already accepted as e-learning districts. So about half the districts in the state.
And at each level, the consistency, the way it looks, the way it's handled on each level or grade, is it basically the same? In other words, when the student moves to the next level, does it look the same as the level they came off of or the grade they came off of?
The e-learning status is for the district.
So it all
It's
is
not
the same?
Yes. Yep.
Any other questions? All right, thank you, Dr. Wilkins.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. You're actually not done with me yet.
Okay. Our next on our agenda is a presentation of student data.
All right. So, we know that the data that we collect is just tremendous. We know a lot about our kids, we know a lot about where we are, and I'm sure if you've been following anything that's going on in the news, you know that statewide people are very, very concerned about where our kids are. The first being the Act 142 pre and post assessment data. Act 142 brought additional assessments to our schools. And the constraints said We are going to administer a pre-assessment in August when we first get our kids back to figure out where they are after the closure in the spring. So in August, we had our pre-assessment, and then before the end of the calendar year, we had to administer a post-assessment. The state selected 3 to 4 assessments that we could choose from to administer to our kids. Now, in Saluda County Schools, we've been administering an assessment called MAP, Measures of Academic Progress, for approximately 15 years. That is good, solid, longitudinal data we've had on our kids in the kindergarten through 5th grade. We don't normally administer it in accordance to this timeline that was put upon us this year. Usually our fall, we're in school for a couple weeks, kids get used to be back in school. Mid-September, we do our fall assessment. And then winter assessment usually falls in January. We had to shift back a bit to adhere to the timeline that was given to us this year. And we did it, and we assessed kids, and we so proud of the schools. They got in, even our full distance learners, they got those kids in to take the assessments. And so we had that good data. But that MAP data for our K-5, and then for our 6th through 9th grade, we administered a test called TE21. It was just a snapshot. Our teachers and our principals, our instructional leaders, know so much more about our kids than what is reflected in that one-time, one-day test. And so the data that the team is going to present tonight is going to take a look at some of that, what they call the summative data. Here you are, this is what you know at this moment in time. But they're also going to share with you other data that they think reflects where our kids in Saluda County are in their learning. So, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Etheridge right now, and he is going to give you an update on Saluda High School.
Can everybody hear me? Good. Once we get back up. Okay, Dr. Duggan just gave you a really good explanation of what Act 142 did for K through 8. It was really not a good data point for high school, and I'll tell you why. We had to administer pre and post tests to every 9th grader in math and English. And what ended up happening is a lot of our kids, we administered those pre and post tests, but since we're on 4x4 block, they didn't even take the class. So it really didn't give us an idea of what they did. So what we did, if you go to the next slide, we were able to pull our EOC data from the fall of 2019 and compare it to the fall of 2020. So try to compare apples to apples. And if you look at our Algebra 1 data, in 2019 we were at 61% passage rate, and in 2020 we were at 62.5. So what that told us is we did not have a significant drop in student performance because of the closure. It was almost the same. And if we look over at our English 1 data, we were at 46% in the fall of 2019, and we were at 54% in the fall of 2020. So we had a little bit of a gain, and like I said, no significant drop-off. The only thing I would say about the English 1 scores is we have a lot of students that are ESOL. English is their second language. So while we're trending in the right direction, we're still not where we want to be with that data. We go to the next slide. Okay. This slide I was a little bit more excited about. This is our virtual data for our virtual students that didn't come back to school in August. So we use a platform called Apex, which has high school courses. You can get Carnegie units from the Apex, just like NC Virtual. And we had 168 students take Apex classes in the fall. We offered 20 different courses. That was 566 different classes that our students took from August until January. Of those 566, we had 416 passing, 150 failing for about a 73% passage rate. we set a goal at the beginning of the year for 80%, so while we didn't get where we wanted to, I was still kind of pleased with that, because what that told us is that our students really had to go home and work to pass these classes. It wasn't just, we're gonna give you grades. So, we were real pleased about that, and we're gonna try to get to that 80% next semester. And the last thing I'll say is, we were able to graduate 6 students early from taking Apex classes. They took their load, finished it, and then they were able to double up and get some more credits. And the last little bit I'll share with you, which is a pretty cool story, is we had a kid named Ever Mendez come to us some years back, and Ever was one of the kids, he spoke very, very little English, and usually when a kid like Ever gets 17, 18 years old, they leave school and they go to work, because that's kind of what they came here for. But Ever didn't. Ever stuck with us for 6 years, and because of Apex, he would be walking across the stage and graduating in June. So those are my 2 data points.
Questions for Mr. Evans? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ackers. And now Mr. C will open up to share some information from the middle school.
Take this off because it fogs up my glasses when I talk with them on. As we were looking at our pre and post data, we used the TE21 assessment, and if you look at our data points up on the screen, you'll see that our kids grew in every category, which we were excited about that. But we really felt like as we were looking at it, some of our growth points don't show as well on this chart as they would have. When you pull out our top honors kids in the 8th grade for English 1 and Algebra 1, all of those large growth points that would have taken the TE21 for the 8th grade level are now taking it for the English and the Algebra 1. So their scores were off the chart with their growth in Algebra 1 and English 1, but it doesn't reflect on our regular class things. So we're very excited about that. Our virtual students, we were concerned about them because we know we had a severe issue with some of our kids at the beginning. We're not wanting to be diligent about logging into their 8 a.m. classes or 9 a.m. And I guess at 13 years old, I would have tried to sleep in too. But they started growing and catching on by the time we got to November and December. And we've seen a much higher success rate with them in that classroom, even though it's not yet showing in their test scores here. But we're really excited about that. The thing I think impressed me the most about some of our virtual kids, our honors kids that were virtual scored as high, and even some of them had better gains than some of our face-to-face students because of their work ethic. With nobody at home, sitting at home, still logging in, listening to their teacher, and getting that extra video to watch, they did an outstanding job, so we were very pleased with that group. This slide is probably the thing I'm most excited about at our school right now. We've been focusing on our climate of our school and our culture through our PBIS program, just trying to get our kids to understand we're there, we are here, we care about you, we love you, and we're going to take care of you through this pandemic. So a part, you can see one of our posters on the wall, our acronym is ROAR, because we focus on respect, being organized, achieving goals, and being responsible, and that's what we've been working on. That's the left-hand chart here. We've done a real good job of focusing on helping them achieve their goals and being responsible during this time when we're having a lot of Wi-Fi issues at home and things like that. The chart on the right is my most excited part, and that's because we started out the year putting in a lot of rules that hadn't been in place to try to get our kids behaving and doing what they needed to do. Staying 6 feet apart, wearing your mask, keeping your ID on because we can't see your face now. We still need to know who you are. And all types of rules like that, what was expected in the class. And as you can see, September and October, we had a lot of infractions. But as the year has gone on, they've come around. They are doing better than we expected. Our teachers are phenomenal, but our kids are even better. Everything we've asked them to do, they've gotten better every single time. We're using every infraction as a teachable moment to talk with them about how to handle it better next time, and we've seen great results with that. Any questions?
Any questions? Let's see.
going to come up and give us a Hollywood Elementary update.
I'm going to take my mask off as well, just to make sure you can all hear very well. First of all, thank you very much for allowing us to come and share this data. The first piece of data that we're going to share at the elementary and primary level is our Act 142 pre and post assessment data. And at the kindergarten through 5th grade level, it of course is our MAP assessment. You're going to notice on the charts and graphs, you're going to notice there is growth, and I totally attribute this to the hard work of our teachers and our students and our parents at home, whether they're students that are face-to-face or full distance learners, or students that go home for 12 to 14 days on quarantine. Our teachers are doing a dynamic job of making sure students are still engaged. Expectations for students for their work is still happening. Even on those days that they are quarantined, they are able to log in live to instruction, so the teacher is teaching her face-to-face students and has the Chromebook pulled up to have the students log in live to instruction for those big lessons, the shared reading, the math lessons, the writing, etc. So, of course, I do attribute all of this growth that we've had so far to our teachers, our students, and our parents. The first data I want to, before we get into MAP, our 4K students, they do not take MAP. So I wanted to show you where our students were for 4K coming into school and then where they are at this point. 4K takes PALS, and it's a phonological assessment that focuses on letter ID, letter sounds, uppercase letter, lowercase letter. If you look right here at this chart, in the beginning of the year, 15%, I have one class of 4K at Hollywood, and it's a class of 20 students. And it says 15% of those students knew uppercase letters. What that means is 3 out of the 20 students knew already coming to 4K at least 20 to 26 uppercase letters. At this point, for mid-year, 75% of our students know at least 20 to 26 letters, and that's 15 out of the 20 students. The lowercase letter, it was 5%, so only one student knew between 20 and 26 lowercase letters. At this point, 13 students, or 65% of those students, can identify 20 to 26 lowercase letters. And then the last column is our sounds, our letter sounds, and our students coming in, 0 students knew any letter sounds. And at this point, 50% of those students know between 20 and 26. So 50% of those students, half of them, 10, know 20 to 26 letter sounds, which I think is a huge testament as to why students need to be in our 4K classrooms, getting this foundation before moving into 5K. For our MAP data, you should have received a chart maybe in your packet that just kind of has some clarification on what NWEA sets as benchmarks. And at the bottom of your chart, it's divided into the reading benchmarks, mean scores, and the math. Oh, sorry, math's on the back. So it's text levels at the top, and then our second box would be our reading for math, and then on the back is math. And that is showing you, for example, if you look at the reading box, it just shows you what NWEA sets as their benchmark. So it's saying kindergartners coming into the fall should score an average of 136.65 on math. Does that make sense? Can everybody see that? And then in the winter, it's saying kindergartners should grow to about 146.28. And then, of course, in the spring, they should check their benchmark is 153. So those are the benchmarks we set for students to make sure to see if they're growing. Does that chart make sense? Because I'm kind of refer to it, and I'll try to make it as clear as possible. Okay, so for our kindergarten students for MAP, this is MAP reading. The beginning of the year, our average for our kindergartners were scoring a 132. So you can tell kindergarten for fall should have scored 136. The average for kindergarten at the mid-year was 140, so that's where we are on the map. First grade, our average score at Hollywood for first grade was 149, and for the winter, our average score is 158. So backing up 5K right now at mid-year, 18%, about 13 out of 71 are scoring 146 or higher, meeting that benchmark or higher. And then for first grade, 22% or 16 are scoring the 165 points or higher. Second grade, our average in the fall was 169. You can see the average for fall really should have been a 172, or that was the benchmark. For the winter, our average mean was 176 for second grade. So our winter was 181. But right now, our second grade meeting benchmark are 25 out of those 71 students, so about 35% already at that mid-year benchmark. Third grade, the average was 187 for the fall, and then in the winter, our students in third grade were scoring an average of 192. So the reading 193 would have been the average mean, or the benchmark set. Fourth grade, 197 in the fall, that was their average. And then in the winter, we were scoring an average of 203 in reading. And then fifth grade, our average was a 206 in the fall, and at winter benchmark, or the winter max assessment, our average was 210. So again, second grade right now we have 35% that's met the benchmark set by NWEA. Third grade we have 53% that has met the benchmark already for the mid-year. Fourth grade has 61% of our students, and fifth grade is 56%, and that was in reading. Okay. For math, same thing. Now the chart is on the back for math, and these numbers are the same mid-year, fall, and then mid-year. And this is what our average was for Hollywood. So our average in the fall was 136, and in the winter was 143. Right now, approximately 33% of our students scored the 150 benchmark in 5K. First grade, the average was 152, our average score, and we have grew to 165 in the winter. Right now, about 35% have met the that 165 or higher, 170. Second grade, 169 in math was our fall data, our average, and then in winter, 178 was our average as a school. Right now, 25% is already meeting the 184 benchmark for second grade. Third grade, 184 was our average in the fall as a whole for third grade. And then in the winter, it's 193. And at this point, 47% of our students are scoring at the 196 or higher benchmark set by NWEA. Fourth grade, 197 was our average in the fall. And then 203 was our average score for this winter. And so fourth grade, at this point, 43% of our students are scoring at that 206 benchmark set or higher. And then fifth grade, 206 was our fall average. And then in mid-year, for our winter, was 213. And the average benchmark was actually 214 for the winter. And 53% of our students are scoring at the 214 benchmark or higher at this point. We would love for our K-1-2 to be meeting closer to benchmarks, but I will be very honest, we had to really back up, work on letter sound foundations, and first grader had to back up and work on letter sounds to get them up to benchmark. We worked on first graders decoding and trying to do their text level. So our lower primary students we're working overtime right now. Okay.
Jennifer, can I add something? Yes. Yes, it is on. Okay, thank you. NWEA, the publisher of this test, released a white paper right at the start of the school year, and it was looking at the COVID slide, and they predicted that students' scores would be about 30 points below where they should be. And so I think it's tremendous that we have a large percentage of kids that are already hitting the benchmarks and showing that growth. But NWA is it's a nationally normed test. Kids take it all over the United States. And that was their prediction. Their research showed that on average, kids would lose maybe 30 points less than where they should be. So just wanted to provide that context.
Okay. Again, this was just one snapshot for our 4K and our 5K through 5th grade. And as a school, we look at lots of data points, and we could have talked about lots of different things. But I wanted to pull out a few that are just huge that we really discuss and we talk about in our data meetings. The first assessment data right here is our KRA, and this is our Kindergarten Reading Readiness Assessment. And this is a state mandated test that all kindergartners should take in the first 45 days of school. And this is simply not a test or an assessment to see how they've grown. It's to see what they're coming to kindergarten with, what readiness skills they are coming with in language and literacy, math, social skills, social foundation, and then physical well-being, being or motor development. And there's 3 categories that your students can score in. They can score in demonstrating readiness, which means they have strong foundational skills for kindergarten, meaning they're ready. They can score in approaching readiness, which means they have some of those foundational skills. And they can score emerging readiness, which means they have minimal foundational skills coming into kindergarten. And so at this point, beginning of the year, after our KRA was finished, our assessment was completed, we did not have any students that were scoring in the demonstrating readiness category that had foundational skills, had the majority of the foundational skills. We did have 76% of our students scoring in the the emerging, meaning they have some foundational skills, and then we had 24% of our students scoring in approaching, meaning, or emerging, sorry, I'm backwards. Emerging, minimal, very minimal, okay? So I think that's huge. 76% of the students are coming with some foundational, and then 24% very, very minimal. So that's our kindergarten data. So our kindergarten teachers have to take that and use that information and teach our students letters and sounds and words and how to put all that together into reading and then carrying on over to 1st grade. At the beginning of our kindergarten, we start with our text levels across the board for all of our students from K to 5th grade. And text levels are something y'all are very familiar with because we have been talking about text levels for many years now. Coming into kindergarten, we had, again, on your chart, you will see at the very top, it's text level benchmarks. And these are the benchmarks that that are set for each 9 weeks period. And then the end of the year requirement benchmark saying if students are at that end of the year text level, they should be, prepared and successful for the next grade level. So at this point in kindergarten, we did not have any students that were coming to us in kindergarten that were reading. They had letters and knowledge sounds, but they were not reading. At this point, we have 61 students, which is about 86%, that are meeting the end of that second 9 weeks benchmark, that are falling into that category, reading between text level 1 or 4. 1st grade, we had 20 students that would have come to us on the benchmark of 3 or higher. The end of the kindergarten, they're supposed to be on a text level 3. But at this point, we have 39. This was where we had to see a lot of growth was in our 1st grade because our kindergartners from March to May, really that's where they pick up those, the reading, and they begin reading more difficult texts, and they're moving into not just reading words, but really comprehension. And so 1st grade's having to really build upon that. Right now, 39 of our students, or 56% of our students, are reading on benchmark for the end of the second 9 weeks between text level 8 and 16. Second grade, students coming on, benchmark was 26, but as of right now, we have 58. That's about 83% of our students in second grade that are meeting the end of the second 9 weeks benchmark, mid-year benchmark. Third grade, we had 11, and at this point, we have 55 that are meeting the mid-year benchmark for their text level. Fourth grade, 17, and then now we have 52 students meeting that benchmark, and that's about 88%. And then fifth grade, we had 13 meeting that benchmark, and 56 at this point meeting the benchmark for this particular point in the year, which is about 78%. So that's text level. Truly a tribute to text level growth for the fidelity with our guided reading that's occurring in the classroom every day. The interventionist that's focusing on, our early childhood interventionist focusing on 4K and 5K with those letters and sounds. Our reading tutor focusing with first and second grade students. She has about 40 first and second grade students that she works in addition to their daily guided reading on phonics, decoding, putting those sounds into words. And then third, fourth, and fifth for the students that are reading below grade level, them getting their guided reading, but also getting interventions as well. One last thing, and I know I'm way over my 3 minutes. Reflex Math. Reflex Math is a math program that our students do to help with fact fluency. We were seeing several years ago that our students didn't know 2 plus 2, 3 plus 3, 7 times 7, 8 plus 7, and so forth. And so we started first grade. We started with second through fourth, and then second and fifth, and then last year was going to start with first grade mid-year. So they started about January and then kind of went from there. But this year we started strong with first grade as well. First, second, pretty much are working on addition and subtraction fact fluency, and then moving from third, fourth, and fifth to multiplication. By the end of second, some of those students will already be transitioned into multiplication and division facts. But I thought this was great data because this is something our students are expected to do every day. If you hear students talking about getting their green light, were they doing the reading the math fact fluency challenge on the Chromebook? They hit their green light, means they knew their facts so quickly that they were able to get their green light. So we talk a lot about getting your green light, growing in your fact fluency. First graders came into knowing their facts. They take a pre-assessment. So at the beginning it was 5.5. Our fact fluency in first grade was 5.5. Just knowing those simple facts, how quickly you know 0 plus 1, 2 plus 2. And they have grown right now to 39.80% fact fluency overall as a grade level. Second grades came into second grade with 7.9% fact fluency, and they have grown to 65.90% fluency. So I would say shortly by the end of the year, a lot of them will be working on multiplication and addition. Third, fourth, and fifth grade, again, multiplication and division is the focus. 15%, the fact fluency was 15% as the whole grade level. And right now it's about 66.3%. This data changes daily, so hopefully it's already up to 67%. Fourth grade, they came to fourth grade with 51.20% knowledge of that multiplication, fact fluency, and at this point they're at 89.7. So these are students too that are not just doing it at home or at school, but they're going home to get their green light as well. Fifth grade, they came to fifth grade with 51.50 in the beginning of the year with their fact fluency, and at this point they're at 75.50%. Our second, third, fourth, and fifth are really in competition with each other. They are, wanting to see whose games get spotlighted on the rock show and so forth with their fact fluency. But that definitely helps with our math, instruction in the classroom, and so forth. Our last thing, just to hit on very quickly, social emotional learning is data too that we really look at. We look at, our student of the month. How do we create that culture within the school that still is making sure we are touching the social emotional part of our students, not just the academics, but also the social emotional learning. So just continuing the programs of point of the month, having those yard signs, driving around Saluda, seeing those yard signs, continuing positive office referrals, Our PBIS program, Hollywood Rocks, respectful, organized, proper, knowledgeable, and safe, and keeping the expectations. We do have 10 classroom referrals, 22 bus, and 19 tardies at this point. Anytime students are tardy, 3 or more, that is a referral. We try to cut down on the tardiness that way. They're not missing instruction because our class starts right at 8. Golden Gate Movement, being kind, I think has definitely spun off not just with our guidance lessons, but with our faculty and staff and our community. Ms. Black, our guidance counselor, sees 15 students in small group counseling sessions, mostly just groups of 2 to 3. She does have 2 one-on-one sessions. Kindness Rocks at Hollywood, that goes with the Golden Gate Movement, which I think was very fitting for this year for us to all move into as a district. We do lots of things throughout the school. One big thing that we do for teacher morale too is the teacher mugging. Teachers are spotting each other, being kind, being friendly, being helpful, and they're mugging each other. And then last but not least, some other ways that we're reaching the social emotional. Angel Tree at Christmas, we were able to supply presents and Christmas gifts for 32 of our students. And then Backpack Buddies, which is a daily, every Friday. We have 39 students that receive those backpacks to take home for the weekend. So that is Hollywood in a nutshell. We can continue, but my 3 minutes is up. I know, see, Commander Moore has to I know, I'm sorry. Any questions? If you do, you can always email me.
Thank you. And I did ask everyone to hold to 3 minutes, so I did want you all to know that, because I didn't want you to think anyone was less prepared or had less to share. I know that our lesson presenters have just as many wonderful things to say, so I don't want anyone to have a negative impression based on what you did.
I know, that's hard to follow.
If I could, just one comment, Ms. Thomas, it seemed to me that, on the benchmarks in those lower grades, when I started a little with the low benchmark, our gains there's a higher percentage gain. I mean, to me, that's a very positive.
Right, exactly.
Lower grades are kids are really.
Right.
Okay, well, thanks to Ms. Thomas's beautiful overview of all of my data. I'm going to have to go in quite that detail, but we will be still using the same one sheeter front and back with all those benchmarks for my data as well. All of our data looks like similar, but except different data points. So I will tell you about Saluda Elementary. For our Act 182 pre and post data, grades 3, 4, and 5 did take MAP assessment. So just very quickly, I'll explain some of the graphs here. For MAP reading, again, just like Ms. Thomas said, this is our fall data and the darker is our winter. You can see across the board that we did increase our mean writ average. But just some more precise percentages. On the reading map for 3rd grade, we ended with 43% of our students meeting that mid-year benchmark, which we thought was wonderful, wonderful. 3rd grade for math, 29% met the benchmark. In 4th grade, we had 37% of our students meeting benchmark by winter, and in ELA, and 41% meeting benchmark in math. In 5th grade, we had 40% of our students reading benchmark for mid-year in reading, and 31% meeting benchmarks in math. So we have shown growth across the board in all of our grade levels. We're very, very excited about that. Some other additional data, like the other schools, we still abide by text levels, and much work and consistency has been in place with guided reading and using literacy footprints as a daily non-negotiable. And we've been able to move our students leaps and bounds in their reading, with holding them to extremely high comprehension expectations of grade level standards. which is crucial. Not only are they able to read the text, but can they comprehend what they are reading? So again, the graph is much like all the other graphs. 31% were meeting benchmark at the beginning in third grade. We now have 50%. In fourth grade, we started with only 15% of our students meeting benchmark. We now have 30%. And in fifth grade, we started with 28% of our kids meeting that beginning of the year benchmark, to now we're at 37%. Just like Ms. Thomas, and I know Ms. Shore is going to mention this too, interventionists are key. They're key at every grade level, but more precisely at the younger grades. I firmly believe that the quicker we can close the gap, the younger that student is, the better off the students will be as they progress along the years. So as you can see, our Saluda Elementary's interventionist data is quite alarming. She has 23 students, and 96% of those students show tremendous growth in their text level, but more importantly, they're transferring that text level to showing growth on grade level standards. All 23 of those students were in the bottom 20th percentile, and now 70% of those are scoring above the 20th percentile and no longer needing interventions, which is what it is designed for, to take care of them and then move them out back into the general population. The elephant in the room, I just have to mention this, not as a Debbie Downer, but almost to discuss. Our teachers are doing a phenomenal job across all 5 buildings. But just to show you a little alarming data, in Saluda Elementary, we've had 167 kids be quarantined at least one time. Now, that quarantine data ranges from anywhere from 5 days to the full 24 days. 167 kids that is affected at least one time so far this year. We've got 35 kids that have been quarantined twice, so that could be up to 48 days. Okay. We have had 7 kids that have been quarantined 3 times. And we have 1 poor kid that has been quarantined 4 times. But I put that out there not to say, oh my goodness, in a bad way, but oh my goodness, despite this, we're getting this. That we are truly, truly working hard, boots on the ground, doing exactly what it takes to move our students. And we're very proud of all 5 of our schools for doing that. Our teachers are doing a phenomenal job. And e-learning that Dr. Dubbins talked about in the plan, with that e-learning plan, those kids, that 167 kids that have been affected by quarantine, go home with a Chromebook, and they still keep up with their lessons as the teacher is teaching in the classroom. They are not missing a beat, and I really think that is why. So in conclusion, just the fun part of our day, the social and emotional learning. Saluda Elementary sends home 17 food bags every week to our students. We have monthly guidance lessons. Ms. Young sees 24 students in her groups. Also, our school-based mental health counselor sees 13 additional students. We have partnerships with our local churches. We have provided Christmas coats, hats, gloves, book bags, school supplies, and much, much more. And I'm very excited about, you see the little tooth here. Wednesday, we're starting the steps of providing one student who could not learn because his mouth hurt so bad. We are providing him with a dental cleaning and all of the repairs that need to be done to his mouth so that he can no longer hurt, so he can focus on his studies and learn. Brings tears to my eyes. It is just wonderful. Our discipline referrals are down to 7. That's classroom discipline referrals. I didn't track bus or tardies. Those are very, very few this year as well. We just celebrated the week of Valentine's Day. We love our Teachers Week. It was a week full of fun and kind of stemming off our February blues. And with our teachers, February can be kind of a down month for our teachers, and we wanted to bring the morale back up. So we celebrated We Love Our Teachers Week. Monday during that week, we had You Are Moveless, and we brought in Chick-fil-A biscuits that morning. Tuesday was the 100th day of school, so we gave them a $100,000 bar with thanks a grand. Wednesday was Worth It Wednesday, and we provided each of our teachers with a box to save all of those little things that students give you that let you know that what you're doing and your hard work is totally worth it. Thursday, we put door hangers on all of the teachers' doors, and they checked off what they would like, and we delivered a snack to their door that afternoon. And Friday, we provided a soup lunch for all of our teachers for the super job that they are doing. That's Saluda. Any questions? Questions from Ms. Owen? Thank you.
Okay. Thank you to Jennifer and Marcy also for doing a fantastic job, so it kind of cuts my work down here. But I am super excited to be able to share with you the data from Saluda Primary School. Just as all of the other schools have said, our teachers and students are doing a phenomenal job daily, working just as hard as they can. Our teachers are working each week with Ms. Deloach, our assistant principal, and Ms. Ergel, our reading coach, and they are really building those strong lessons to deliver to those children to make sure we are on point each and every day. So we're really proud about that. Our Act 142 pre and post assessment data that you are looking up at. This graph shows our mean RIT score in reading for the fall of 2020 and for the winter of 2021, as well as our MAP data. And you can reference your handout, as Ms. Thomas alluded to that earlier, to be able to see where students should be falling. In kindergarten, we have 38 students at or above the benchmark in reading and 40 in math. In first grade, we have 39 students meeting at or above the benchmark in reading and 43 in math. And in second grade, we are right at 40 students at or above the benchmark in reading and 25 students in math. But what we are extremely proud of is we have these students who are, even though we started out a little bit below, kindergarten students should be around 135 whenever they began in the fall of kindergarten, and we're at 131. But what our students are doing are growing the expected amount according to what NWA says that they should be able to grow. So in kindergarten, we are experiencing a 10-point growth from fall to winter. In first grade, students should grow 10 points, and our children grew right at 9 points. And in second grade, they are supposed to grow 9 points, and our children did experience 8-point growth. So we are super excited, again, about that continued growth. We did have a little setback with COVID in November and December, and we did have to quarantine several classes. But our teachers just continue to work hard, our students continue to work hard, and we expect to see tremendous strides coming up with our spring testing. Next is our KRA, our Kindergarten Readiness Assessment. And as Ms. Thomas said, we have the demonstrating, approaching, and emerging students for readiness, and this is administered in the first 45 days of school. We had 4 students, or 3.1% of our students, that demonstrated readiness. We had 40 of our students, or 31.3%, that were approaching readiness, and then we had 84 students, or 65.6% of our students, that were emerging with their readiness skills. The next 3 graphs that I'd like to draw your eye to is the information from our RISE program. And guys, I have never, ever in my 30 years of education seen a program work like this program works. Ms. April Ergel, our literacy coach, has kind of coordinated everything and managed everything down to the T. But what we do with this is reading inspires students to excel. We bring in our students and we actually evaluate. We look at their text levels. We strategically mesh children together that we see are at that peak learning, reading performance of where they need to be ready to set sail and take off. We focus on first grade and second grade students that are on the similar grade level. And then we strategically group those students to come in to what we call our RISE room. Those 16 students come in for 1 hour a day, and they meet with 4 literacy tutors. And they are working with them with interventions and strategies to be able to push them forward. And this process, we have 3 different sessions each day, so we're actually serving 48 students each day with this program. 32 of those students experienced 3 or more text level jumps in 8 weeks. That is tremendous work with those children and with the teachers. It's just very intensive work, and just very repetitive, but working with those kids, and they have moved tremendously. We've just finished up with that 8-week rotation and finalized with those children, got them back into the general population reading, and now we are beginning to start a new rotation of 8 weeks, and we will bring in another 48 students to be able to work to get them back on grade level where they need to be. With our text level data, the next 3 charts that we have here, right now we have on grade level for kindergarten. 87% of our kindergartners, or 108 of them, are on grade level. We have 9 students below grade level, or 8%, and we have 7 of our students above grade level, or 5%. In first grade, we have 60 of our students, or 50% of them, are on grade level reading, 44% below, and 16 above where they should be. And in second grade, we have 56% of our, 56 students, or 54%, reading on grade level. 33 of our students are below grade level, or 32%, and we have 14% are above where they should be. Also, working with our social emotional learning, that's extremely important, as many of our students stay in their classrooms a large part of the day, so we want to make sure that we are nurturing our kids and taking care of that. With our angel tree, we were able to adopt 24 families for Christmas, which was 51 children, 2 parents, and then we were also able to buy a week's worth of groceries for one family that really needed some assistance. Our backpack buddies, which we give out our meals for the weekend. We have 33 students that participated in that. And we're really excited this week. I was sharing a story with someone, a colleague, and a church came to us and said, we really want to help with this. A little boy had been kind of falling asleep in the classroom and just really struggling. So we brought him in and said, what's going on? What's happening? He said, it's so cold, he couldn't sleep well at night. And I said, well, do you have a blanket? And he said, my mama does on her blanket, but I don't. He said, I sleep in the chair and I don't have a blanket. And I was like, sweetheart, you will have your blanket. So we had a church to come and sponsor 33 of our students. So this Friday, going home with their backpack lunches, meals, they will also have a nice warm blanket to go home with them. So we're excited to be able to provide that. Our guidance counselor works with 20 students, which have been referred through the classrooms by teachers. And then she also continues to deliver the Golden Gate Movement lessons each week to all of our classrooms, kindergarten through second grade. And our PBIS program is going strong at Saluda Primary School, as to date we have had just 22 discipline referrals. So we are extremely excited about that. And that's Saluda Primary School. Yes, sir, Commander Moore?
Yeah, I have a question. Go back to your math score. Read. You said, for instance, 40, did you mean percent or 40 students?
40 students.
Out of how many?
Well, it varies. If you're talking about, is it second grade?
Well, yeah. I mean, you were given numbers instead of percentages.
That's correct. That would be 40 or 31.3%.
30%.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry.
available to give us an adult education update.
First of all, I'd like to thank the board for supporting adult education. Previously, before I entered the adult education field, I did not understand the whole realm of what goes on at the adult ed building, but it's been a great learning experience, and the thing that I like the most is the stories that I hear from these people that come in and want to continue their education. It's super humbling sometimes to hear what these folks go through, but we're able to help them and get to see the rewards from that. We have 3 different types of students that come through our building. We have some that just need a few credits where they can finish up their high school diploma. Then we have some who are a long ways away. It would take them a long period of time for them to finish their high school diploma. So then we place them on what we call a GED track or a high school equivalency track. And then we have 1 day a week, we have an ESL class where folks that come into our community, they want to learn the English language, and we provide different avenues for them to be able to learn that. And so some of our successes so far, even though the numbers might not look very big, but comparatively speaking, we're having some successes that I'd like to highlight. Our total high school credits up to this point, we've had 22 high school credits from our students, with 3 diplomas being earned up, as of December. We've had 3 folks get their high school diploma. Of our GED track students, we have a number of students who have qualified, and you have to pass 4 tests to get your GED. And we have 7 students that have at least completed one of those tests we feel like we can get them over the hump and let them get their high school equivalency. And then we've completed 2 GEDs thus far. And then our ESL class, not to get too technical, but we have federal levels that are placed by the federal government. And we have participants coming in who's been able to take a pre-test, and the federal government requires us to instruct them 60 hours before we can give them the post-test. With them coming once a week, we've had 6 of those individuals test, and 4 of them have made a measurable skills gain, which is them moving from one level to another. So we're very proud of that. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Questions, Coach Earl? Thank you.
Let me, real quick, one thing that I do want to add, and Dr. Douglas May was going to add, I apologize if I was speaking for you. Adult Ed and Mr. Earle's staff has done a ton of behind-the-scenes work during COVID. They have assisted, I know the high school, with kind of monitoring a lot of the virtual classes behind the scenes. Also, too, a lot of our full distance learners the parents maybe did not feel comfortable bringing their child into the building to take the pre and post assessment that was state mandated. So Mr. Earle and his staff conducted, in most cases, one-on-one testing sessions with those parents that did not feel comfortable coming into the building. So in addition to their regular duties, just did want to make sure everybody's aware of the behind-the-scenes work that his staff is doing as well.
Thank you for mentioning that. And I think you heard from the presentations from the 6 different sites, we wanted an overview of data, but what you got was so much more. And so we appreciate you giving us this time to share these stories, because we talked a lot of numbers and we showed a lot of charts and graphs. But one thing that emerged as I listened and as I engage with these instructional leaders every day is that they're not just percentages and numbers. These are kids. And when you drill down, I guarantee
Tammy knows which 40 students are, and she knows which 48 are going to be pulled next. And you heard Mr. Etheridge mention, this one student that, is going to graduate, and all of our principals know our kids. But when they stood here tonight, they gave all of the credit and all of the glory to the teachers, right? Because that's what good instructional leaders do. And one of the things I love most about working for this district is there's such a sense of those of us who aren't with kids every single day, teaching them, feel a real sense of urgency to support the teachers that are in front of our kids, the ones that are the closest to the children. And our principals and their assistant principals aren't here with us, but they work so well together and support our teachers in teaching our kids. And that's why we are still seeing growth. We have work to do, of course, but we are still seeing growth because everyone is working so well together as a team to make sure our kids are still learning and still know that they are loved. And so it has been really neat. Dr. Livingston just mentioned adult ed stepping in and providing one-on-one and small group testing sites so COVID cautious families have a safe place to go. That also helps out our schools. Instead of having to pull a personnel to administer that one-on-one test, Mr. Ergel and his team are able to support. And it's just been neat to see the all hands on deck approach. I think the other, and I have this slide up here for our projected next steps, these really aren't numbers. These are numbers that drive our plans. And so of course teachers use the data they know of their kids as they plan instructionally, but principals, district leaders, we are using this information to plan how we are going to continue to move our kids forward. We've already started work on our summer reading camp. We are in talks of how are we going to support our older students with credit and content recovery, and this data supports those decisions we make. So when we hear about, the State Department wanting evidence-based strategies and data-driven instructions, we don't worry about that because that's what we're doing every day. And so we already have plans in place. And so I hope that I can come back in March or April and share some of our more solid next steps so you all know what our plan is to continue to move our kids forward. Any questions for me?
Next on the agenda is operations, budget update.
Yes, ma'am. You should have in your packet, your budget update, for ending January 31st of 2021. As you see our revenue, we have received $2,956,747 in local revenue, which is roughly 39%. Of our local revenue, we have received $6,052,037 in state money, which is roughly 50% of our state funds, and we have received $34,703 in federal funds, which is roughly 21%. Altogether, we have received $9,043,487 in revenue. Expenditures as of the end of January of $10,032,658, or 51% of our budget. Salary and benefits are the largest expenditures at this point. Utilities, we're trending as normal. Thankfully, the weather has still been fairly mild. Spending about 59% of our budget. Repairs and maintenance on tracking as it should be. I do want to look now at equipment. The purchases over $5,000, quite regularly that line is normally zero. we did spend, $22,865, here recently, and we purchased a forklift and a pallet jack for maintenance that will greatly, reduce strain on staff members. We also did some technology purchases to upgrade our firewall protection, as well as some of our electronic door locks. So I did want to point that out to you, because that is historically a zero in that line. Do want to point out something else to you. I found an error on the first page of the budget report, page 1 of 1, where it lists all the account numbers with all the account numbers. If you look at the second account number, 100-001-210-000-10, that was an accounting error. We are not in the hole $1 million. That was actually revenue from Avalorium that should have been credited in the line above it. So we have the fund, but that was just an error in bookkeeping, and I wanted to point that out. And I do have a COVID update that I will provide in a minute, but I will entertain any questions about the general fund budget at this point in time.
Any questions?
Okay. I placed on your table a sheet, and I tended to blow the numbers up, so a little bit larger. But I wanted to provide what was requested last month, kind of an overview on COVID-related expenses to this point. So I want to kind of go through. I know give you a second to look at it, but I do want to go through to discuss how we as a district our expenses that we have used in reference to COVID. And you'll note on the side, we have the item that we've done, the dollar amount, what fund or funds or what accounts, and then kind of an explanation. So kind of to this point, and this is from March of last 2020, pretty much through February. In instructional supplies, the district has spent $67,829.68 in instructional supplies. And this is software for district learning, our Apex, as well as kind of individual student supplies. And those were all funded out of the initial CARES Act funds. Protective and cleaning supplies, we have spent to this point $87,758.65. Plexiglass, face masks, cleaning equipment, supplies, that has also been covered out of CARES Act funds. Technology support, $186,603.26. Software, cabling, boosting the internet at our parking lots, a lot of the behind-the-scenes items, those were also paid for out of CARES Act funding. And last year, since we were able to cover our bus driver salaries and benefits during closure to a tune of $167,276.45 out of CARES funding. So we freed up the general fund budget with that. So in all total, out of CARES Act 1, we have spent $506,459.04. If you move down, the air purification system or the Halo units that we started installing even pre-COVID, we have spent $177,000, and that was out of 8% money. In addition, technology devices, $1,130,817.19. And this was the large purchase of Chromebooks, Chromebook carts, Chromebook cases, as well as the interactive panels and web cameras our teachers use. And of course, this was funding provided by the State Department of Education. In addition, our academic recovery camp and our leap week, that was $414,648.59. This was just salary and benefits for those staff members, and that was also covered by the State Department of Education. So those three items come to a total of $1,722,465.73. And those were total expenses picked up by 8% money or the State Department of Education. Currently to this year, additional staffing, you've heard our principals talk about the reading tutors, some of the interventionists, the additional staff that we have brought in to help work with our kids. In addition to, we have had several teachers that have given up their planning period in order to pick up another class. Obviously, we provide a stipend for those individuals. So to this point, from August to the end of January, we have spent $190,000 on those staff members, and those funds we will pull out of CARES Act 2 that we will be receiving. So grand total of COVID-related expenses to the district at this point, $2,418,924.77. If you go down, we still have $159,708.96 remaining in CARES Act 1 funding. We must spend that funding by September 30th of 2022, and we are projected to receive $2,527,900 in CARES Act 2 funding, and we have to spend those funds by September 30th of 2030. So, our remaining fund, I took our 2 remaining CARES Act allotments, I took out the $190,000 of CARES Act 2 money that we earmarked. So remaining CARES Act funding, we have $2,497,608.96. And at the very bottom, as Dr. Duggins stated, we are still looking at different areas, but areas of focus for remaining CARES Act funds, and obviously want to talk to the board, Dr. Coleman, as we move forward with this plan. But obviously, the continued student support initiatives of our reading tutors and additional staff is a priority. We are Leap Week. Those those days the kids came in early in small groups. We heard nothing but success stories about that. So we are looking at possibly some type of Leap Week or some way to get some kids in early. Obviously, summer options for the elementary and middle schools to address learning gaps. Summer options for our high school students to recover credits, as Dr. Duggins alluded to earlier. Obviously, we've got to be mindful that we have funds to refresh our technology devices, especially in the year 2023, as well as we'll continue to make any purchases of protective or cleaning equipment or supplies as needed. And of course, this does not include the thousands and thousands of dollars of materials the State Department has given us. The masks, the plexiglass, whenever they ask, we always have a wish list of, and the State Department has really gone above and beyond. We have never been told no when it comes to protective equipment. So we are in very good shape stockpile-wise right now. So that was kind of a big overview, but I'll be happy to kind of entertain any questions on this, or if you need some more time to absorb and you want to reach out to me at a later date. I apologize that I did not get this to you earlier for you to study, but I want to make sure that I had the up-to-date and correct numbers for you. Yes, ma'am.
Just looking at the numbers from March 2020 to now, where the total expenses are $2,418,000, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So, starting from the date of March 2020 to end September 30 of 2023, we've got to make sure that 2.5 million lasts us 2 years and 7 months.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct, yes, ma'am.
So you see what I'm looking at?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, I do.
Has there been any talk about anything else coming? I mean, we've spent that already from March 2020 to now. We're expecting to have the same amount for 2023.
To this point, we have not heard of any additional funds from the federal government at this point, but we do know at this point in time, we have the roughly $2.5 million that we know we have of CARES Act funding.
Just kind of had to say it out loud.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, some of that initial money, just look at it, startup cost.
That's correct.
And those won't be recurring, like, we won't have to buy all that plexiglass again.
We're talking about 2 years and 7 months.
I understand what you're saying, but I also sit here and say, we've had a lot of startup costs that shouldn't necessarily recur, but you're right, it's a lot of money. It's got to last a long time.
And again, we will continue to take advantage of any and all offers at the State Department. If they say they've got extra pallet plexiglass, we're sending Brandon to go pick it up.
Absolutely.
Any other questions on the CARES Act fund? All right,
Okay, yes, ma'am. Now, just have a few items. I'll try to get through this part of y'all. On behalf of myself and my family, I just want to thank everybody for the prayers, the cards, the flowers, the meals, the texts, and phone calls that we've received during the passing of my dad. My dad loves Saluda. My dad loves football. And I'm not sure who was more proud the night we won the state championship, if it was me or my dad. I've shared this story with some of y'all, but the last thing I did before the service began, me and my brother walked up and kind of say our last goodbye call, and I took my purple Saluda lapel pin and I placed it on Dad. So, y'all, Dad Saluda held a very special place in my father's heart. And my favorite picture is the picture we were standing against that wall where Miss Holloway's at the day that we had a reception down at Mathis, and to y'all to announce me. And that was a very proud moment for my family and my father. And that picture sits in my office to this day and brings back nothing but fond memories of my father. So thank you, thank my friends for everything that you have done for us and what you'll continue to do for me and my family. Definitely want to wish congratulations to the Lady Tigers on their first round victory the other night. The Lady Tigers will be hosting Andrew Jackson this Wednesday night in the second round of the state playoffs. And the winner of Wednesday night's game will advance to the upper state championship game to be played this coming Saturday. So, go Tigers. This Wednesday and Thursday, DHEC will be using the complex behind the gym to provide the second round of COVID vaccination We're very happy to support this effort. And right before I left the office today to come over here, I received an email from DHEC stating that they're wanting to tentatively host a large-scale vaccine clinic on Saturday, March the 6th for the community. And I definitely told them that we would be more than happy to make our parking lots available to them, as well as the follow-up clinic. So once I get more confirmation on that, I will we'll definitely get the word out so we can help let our community know. We are still waiting to hear back on our date as far as staff and teacher vaccinations. We have worked out an agreement. We've partnered with Self Memorial out of Greenwood. They'll be our provider. We're just waiting for a date now. Next week is National Read Across America Week. So please keep an eye out for some amazing social media posts that I know our teachers at schools will be putting out. Spring sports is fully underway, and scrimmages and games will be starting up next week. We'll make sure we have a full schedule to the board. And just a shout out to our schools. We did see a spike of COVID cases after the break. Thankfully, they're starting to level out some. But the plan that these group of individuals helped design with y'all's input and that y'all approved has allowed us to address every situation. So very just thankful to these group of individuals for all their hard work. And we'll be bringing more information, and sadly this kind of got to the back burner due to COVID. But speaking to a couple board members here recently, we definitely want to get back conversations of our Saluda County District Education Foundation. We think this is good timing. Our community is here to support us. So we will kind of get that ball rolling here pretty quick up at home and have some conversation with some board members so we can capitalize on the positive momentum that we've got going. But I'll have some more information on that here pretty soon off home. And with that pretty much wraps up our report.
Questions? All right, next on the agenda is executive session.